Welcome to Three Furlongs, our quick fire question and answer. This afternoon we're joined by jockey Ross Coakley. Hello Ross, how are you?
Darren, how are you keeping? Well,
Oh, we're doing well. We'll get straight into the questions here, Ross. How did you get interested in horse racing?
so I suppose my interest in horses sparked from as a kid. I initially lived in Dublin, but I would have spent a lot of my summer holidays in Glenbeigh in County Kerry. And believe it or not, a trekking stables would have been where I first would have been introduced to horses. So that's where I kind of initially rode horses and ponies and what have you. And then my father would have ridden out for Pat Martin when I was a kid, so I would have started tagging along with him on weekends. And kind of went from there. Pat was very good to me in the early days. He let me keep a pony in the yard. I used to ride the pony out with the string. And then, it progressed then to riding the race horses. And, Pat was very good to me when I was 9 and 10 years of age. I was riding work. Myself and Keith Donoghue would have been both kids riding work on the race horses. So that was kind of the spark, which then led into pony racing, and then eventually on to getting my license out.
Yeah, once you get bitten by the bug, it's hard to be interested in anything else, I suppose. Like, there's no career outside racing once you're interested, was there?
Well, that's it. You're kind of, you're doing something you love, and the thought of getting paid to do it, it doesn't seem like work, at the time anyway.
At the
But
time, it all changes.
yeah, like everything. But no, I should look, as I said, at the time, back when I was a kid, you're it's all very easy, But as you said, once you get bitten by the bug, it's racing's a great sport, and we're dealing with incredible animals on a day-to-day basis. So I think we're all in a privileged
Yeah, I
position to be
suppose
making a living.
when you take a step back and actually look at it, it's a fantastic sport, and I don't think we appreciate it as much as we possibly should. When you're day-to-day grinding, you don't take it all in as much, do you? Like, from an outsider's perspective, it's probably the dream job, but when you're probably doing it, you forget how lucky you are as such.
Yeah, but should look, like everything. Every job
Same as any job.
has their pros and cons, and especially when we're busy, you do get caught on a bit of a merry-go-round where you never probably are in the moment. You're all the time looking forward, and racing doesn't. You have no time to be thinking back. You're always looking forward at entries and declaration and tomorrow's racing. You never really kind of sit in the moment and enjoy it.
No. But suppose the way you have to look at that too is yesterday's results don't win tomorrow's races. You have to, like, once you win, you have to think of your next win, because you're only ever as good as your last winner, aren't you, really, in the game?
Yeah, exactly. So look, everything's about the next day and your next ride, and I suppose that's the one thing that these times we're at the moment have taught us, is that it's just slowed everything down a bit, and maybe made us appreciate, what we're lucky to be in, especially at the moment. We're riding out there, and when everyone else kind of has nothing to do or out of work, we're still riding out, we're still exercising the horses. And today wasn't too nice, but we've been blessed with the weather the last few weeks, and it's been a great structure to have, to be getting up in the mornings and going in and riding out the horses in the weather we've been having, so certainly the last couple of weeks anyway, you'd really enjoy riding out.
Yeah. And what race would you love to win when you go back? What race in your mind really sticks out you would love to win?
I would look. You have to be realistic, Of course, I'd love to sit here and say I'd love to win this race and that race, but you'll only ever win what you get a chance in. I'd be hoping now. This is my first year as a fully fledged jockey. I wrote out my claim kind of probably May last year. So it's all about getting it to the next level. I'd love to get an opportunity to be competitive in a stakes race of sorts, but that will all come down to the opportunities, So
Yeah.
look, you'd love to say you'd win X race and Y Z, this race and that race, but at the same time, you have to be realistic, and it's about making the most of the opportunities you get. So as I said, I suppose if I was to set any goal, I'd love to get an opportunity to be competitive at the next level. Be it I haven't won a listed or a group race yet. I've had a few rides in them. but on relatively unfancied horses. So, but at the same time, it was nice to get rides in them and get the feel for it, and kind of, it's
Yes.
all about trying to progress. So, but look, as I said, there's no point overthinking it. All we can do is make the most of the opportunities we get, and hope we
Yeah,
can get a bit of luck.
you're wise in you're saying that, but I'm saying the angle of this part of the season, there's no bubbles busted. It must be fantastic to go in. You can have a relatively unexposed handicapper and progress through the ranks. It only takes one horse to sort of ignite the season as such. Because once you're winning, you're obviously getting more rage and more trust. And it always this part of the season probably the nicest part when no bubbles are burst, is it?
Exactly. Yeah. Look, you're working them at home there, and even more so than the maybe the progressive handicapper is what really excites in the morning is getting on one that's an unraced horse, a 3-year-old maybe that has done well from 2 to 3, and you're thinking that they might be the one that could go win a maiden and then step up to the next level.
Yes.
So they're the ones that when you ride them in the morning and they they work well. It certainly gets you dreaming a bit, but as I said, I've been in the game long enough to realize now that even when they win a maiden, it takes a big step up, and they have to keep improving to get to the next level. And for all we are working them at home, and there's every other yard in the country is doing the same thing, and they all have the same dream. So I think in any one maiden, when there's 15 or 16 in it, there's probably 4 or 5 bubbles being burst on any one day. So I'll
Yeah, it's
just
a
hope
losing
that
sport. As you said, you lose a lot more than you ever win. But as a trainer once told me one time that drink drink champagne when you're losing and drink tea when you're winning because you lose a lot more than you ever win. But I think when you're a realist as such and you set the targets that are realistic and just ride as best to your ability and hope the opportunity will come knocking. That's the mindset of jockeys, is it?
I think so. Yeah. Look, I think even the champion jockey works at probably a 20% strike rate in a jockey is exceptional, and that still means he's losing. For every 5 rides, he's losing 4 of them. So it's definitely it's a sport where you do get used to losing. And
Yeah.
as I said, it's not. I don't mean that in a negative way. I think
No.
all you can do, and anytime you ride any one particular horse, is if you can say to yourself when you pulled up that you gave that horse the best possible chance of obtaining his best position, then you've done your
Yeah.
job. So of course, it's all about winning, but at the same time, all we can do is put the horse in the right place and ride him to his, that he shows himself up to his best light. And sometimes you could ride a race that's the case, and other times you can win a race and you won regardless. You think you mightn't have given him the best ride, but he still won. So
Yeah.
it's a
It's a
results
tough
driven game,
game.
but at the same time, from a jockey, we know ourselves when the result maybe not doesn't reflect what a good or bad ride we gave them.
No. Well, I say the Irish horse racing in particular, it would tame lions. There's no, you can be the flavour of the week and then you get beaten and and you can still give it a good ride, but it wasn't a winning ride. There's a lot of, I think that underrated jockeys out there that give a horse a fantastic ride. It might be a winning ride, but as you said before, there's a bigger picture and everything. If you're not winning, it was a bad ride, but there's fantastic rides as well when you're getting the horse the best of their ability, as you say.
Yeah, exactly. And look, as I said, it's only since I started riding really that I appreciated the finer details and the art of race riding. And certainly a lot of the time you're only adapting to what's happening around you. You can only control the horse you're on. You can't control what the people around you are doing or what way
No.
the race is panning out. And I think with experience, the best jockeys learn to adapt more so than anything else. It's experience and being in all these situations before and knowing what way to react to certain things that's happening around them. So and sometimes it's just races, they just don't work out. If you're told to drop out and they go slow, you can't. There's nothing you can do at that stage. You've got a wall of horse around you, and you can't go barging your way out, and you can't go jumping over them. So some things are just out of your control, and I think with experience you learn just to accept these things a bit better too.
Yeah, I think it's the older you get, well, hopefully the wiser you get as well. But you have to take it all in your stride because, as I say, it's about knowing plan A, but there always going to have to be a plan B as well, and getting to there. Because as you say, races don't go the way that they're planned, and they never are. You're only in control of your own horse. You can't control other people's horse. Someone gets in your way, you have no way in. So as you say, it's just all about. I think it's more accepting than anything. As once you accept things, you'll understand that it's a losing sport, but you have to make the best out of your opportunities.
Exactly, yeah, and I think that's what riding with confidence is. I think when you talk about a jockey riding with confidence, it's somebody who's who's willing to deviate from the plan because they have belief they think that they can. It's just allowing things happen rather than trying to force it. So I think that's come a lot. It's a bit of a cliche, but when you talk about a jockey riding with confidence, I think it's a jockey who allows a race unfold in front of them rather than trying to force things to happen.
Yes, I agree there. But we always want to know, people say a jockey's in form. If you won a race, to the next race, do you inclined to have more confidence, or would you say that's a myth?
No, I definitely think that riding with confidence is definitely, with any sport, is a big thing. It's hard to explain, but when you ride a winner, it's obviously you feel like you've gone and you've got the job done. But at the same time, if you ride a winner on a day, it's nearly like the monkey off the back. You kind of
Yes.
you go and ride with a certain amount of freedom because you say, well, I have my winner for today, I'm happy. And you go out and as I said, it's a case of you're not trying to force things to happen. You generally let the race develop and you get the horse into a better rhythm, and you just, everything happens a bit smoother. And anytime you do anything like that, you're definitely, you're saving the horse's energy, and you're doing everything in a kind of in more of a smooth manner. So I think riding with confidence and getting the winner on the board, or getting winners on the board, is definitely a huge part of any sport.
Yeah.
From a confidence point of view.
And then what would you say the biggest daily struggles of being a jockey is? What would be the downside of it?
Well, from my own point of view, like I'm quite tall, so weight is definitely something that stays with you. It's a lifestyle more so than people with a job can work 9 to 5 or have the weekends off. When you're trying to manage your weight, it kind of, it controls every part of your lifestyle. Every decision you make comes back to what you can and can't eat, which can be quite taxing mentally.
Yes.
It's something you have to learn to deal with. And from my point of view, that's probably one of the biggest struggles, is having to maintain my weight, and especially when there's been no racing, it's obviously a bit
Or
tougher.
would you be tempted to
Um,
ever go with the jumps, or would that not be in the?
no, look, I was light enough when I was going through my claim, and it's only 60 winners to ride your claim out over jumps, whereas 95 on the flat. So I got to a stage where even if I did want to switch codes, I would have had no claim and no experience over jumps with
So
no
you're
claim.
stuck between a rock and a hard place there, really. Like,
Yes, look, I don't think I never contemplated going over jumps anyway. Some people are born into it. They do hunting from an early age, and they've a
yes,
lot of experience. I didn't have that. So from my point of view, jumping was just never something I really fell in love with. I love watching Cheltenham, and I love watch jumping racing, but just I never was really bit. I never really took to jumping. It was never something I done from an early age. So I wouldn't have been a natural. And as I said, once I got to a stage where I rode more than 60 winners on the flat, it would have been a huge ask to go and to ride over jumps, to expect to be somebody to put you up as the same terms of one of the top jump lads with no claim, with no experience. So look, I have a huge amount of admiration for the jump jockeys. Like they've a tough lifestyle, and they're hardy men. So we'll leave it to
yes.
them.
Well, suppose in the same breath, it'd be near like starting over again your whole career as such. If you were to turn jump jockey, say in 2 weeks' time, it'd be a whole new vocation. It's a whole new sport, basically, as such, is it?
Well, yeah, it's a different way of riding. It's a different style. They ride a bit deeper. It's a completely, as you said, it's a different code. It's a different style of riding. So of course there would be a transition where you'd have to adapt your riding style, and to be doing that with no claim would be a big ask. So the same way some jump jockeys like to switch to the flat for the summer to tidy up their riding, and for a different experience, because it's a different style of riding. So
Yeah, it's
you
different.
hit the nail on
Like
the head. It wouldn't have been an
like I was
option.
speaking to Dougie Costello this afternoon, and he was of the mindset who, like, he would like to go back jumping again, but he's a flat jockey. But he says the both codes, it doesn't seem to click. People don't bode very well with doing the both. You're one or the other. That was his mindset, and I never really thought of that as being a problem. But he says if you were to concentrate in the flat and to build your connections up, it's very hard to go the opposite way, to build your context up with the jump. You have to be dedicated to one or the other. It's the
Yeah. Well, I
mindset.
suppose you're having to, like everything, you're having to. Most yards are generally flatter jumps, so if you're associated with the yard and you're riding work them riding out, it'd be very hard to. It'd be a lot of juggling to try be keeping everyone happy, and a lot of time in the summer as well. There's obviously not this year, but other years there'll be a jump and a flat meeting on the same day. So then you're having to make the decision of who you're going to ride for and where you're going to go, and it's as you say, there's definitely parts of it that would be tricky to manage, but I won't have that issue anyway.
No, you won't stick to. Right, before we leave it there, Ross, can you give us two horses to follow this year?
Two horses, right? Nice filly in John Ox's, a 3-year-old unraced filly called Afterglow. She's a nice. She's an unraced filly, but she should be making an appearance. Hopefully, she's fitting well in the first, the first couple of weeks, hopefully. And I suppose then in John McConnell's, he's a few progressive handicappers, but one that maybe won a couple back end of the or during the all weather there, who might be able to progress again, is the how I can never pronounce it. I think it's Hapog. I think that's the way you
Oh,
pronounce it. He
yeah.
won a couple over the all weather there, and he's a fine stamp of horse. So he might be one that can keep progressing back on grass.
No. Well, thank you very much for your time, Ross, and I wish you the best of health and the best of luck for the season ahead. Hopefully, you get plenty of winners and you'll reach your target and your milestone. Thank you, Ross.
Hopefully, God. Thanks, Darren. Thank you.
Sponsored by Tips from the Stables.